Shaun, just hoping you can provide an update on Kyle.
Yeah, the update is that he's out of the tournament. As per the family's request, it's a lower body injury. It's not an upper body injury, which is good news. So from a personal standpoint, the human standpoint, it's awesome news. I think for Kyle and the team, it's really unfortunate, that he's gonna miss the remainder.
Yeah, bittersweet, right? Like, here's a situation where, yeah, you think, you almost get greedy and say, hey, we want him in, right? And you hope that he can come back, but obviously not the case. So you sort of take it with a grain of salt. But like you said, he gave a thumbs up last night. You knew that it wasn't going to be, a paralysis situation along those lines.
Yeah, when you don't see those situations very often, but it's pretty surreal to watch the whole process and see him stretchered off the ice. We had a couple guys that were pretty emotional on the bench, so when we heard that there was a thumbs up, I didn't see it. When we heard afterwards there was a thumbs up. That's the most important part. I mean, that's life. That's not hockey. So from that standpoint, he made an appearance this morning. He's stiff and sore, but he seems to be in good spirits. The guys were really happy to see him. So in the big picture, it's great news. Short term, it's difficult for him, extremely difficult. I mean, you get traded here and you get a chance to compete in the Memorial Cup, and that's cut short. From a team standpoint, he's an important player for us. I mean, he's probably most nights, top 2, top 3 minutes. He factors in a lot of different situations, so it's going to have to be, next man up. Apo was out of the lineup for the first time last game. He gets to come right back in and keep playing.
When you had the conversation with the referee about the fact that there was no penalty call, what did he say?
Yeah, you know what? I thought I thought his response was legit and fair. I mean, it was disappointing. He just said that they all talked about it, and from his vantage point, he didn't see it exactly as a penalty. When they all talked about it, none of them made the assessment that it was a penalty. My thought on that, there was a real easy out. I mean, with the rules, you can call 5.
Exactly, that's what my next question.
Yeah, we saw the night before with the knee on bank here, and I mean, I might question that should have remained a 5. There was no injury, so they call a 5. Yeah. I thought the original call looked like a trip when on that one, and then when you see a player down, I think it's a pretty easy. Pretty easy.
You call it 5, and then you go back and see it.
Pretty easy to call the 5. Worst case scenario, it's not a 5, it's a 2. Yeah. When you see an injury, there was some pretty good distance traveled. When we look at it again, I mean, the puck kind of hops, and Kyle, goes to make a play on a puck that's bouncing, so he's in a real awkward position, and then it's to me there's distance traveled and distance from the boards and everything that kind of came together to create the injury. So it was disappointing, because and that's what I explained. I think there was an easy way to, I think unfortunately they kind of called the other 2 penalties that get announced, and then the refs are probably thinking, oh man, maybe we should have called it. It's too late now. There's been too much time. At that stage of the game, the penalty is not going to impact things one way or another. So I thought it was an easy way to, but he was apologetic. He just said, man, if we just didn't see it, so we didn't make the call, and he actually apologized. And so at that point, there's not much else for me to say.
Is there a recourse? You know, if it's the Western League, you can do supplemental discipline here. Now we know that it's handled out of the NHL Department of Player Safety here. So, is there any sort of an update on? I mean, he's an important player for them, right?
Yeah.
So, any update there?
Yeah, it's interesting. The feedback that we got after the game was that the NHL had it as a non-call. You know, to me, the standards might be a little bit different than what we're used to. I think it's a dangerous. I think it's a dangerous hit. I thought there was emotion in it. You know, I don't think it was just, hey, I'm going to go, you know, finish a check because we're in the middle of a game and that's the right thing to do. I thought at that stage it was, you know, a little bit of an attack. You know, it's just really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that you've got a player out of the tournament.
You mentioned that he was here today and made an appearance. How long was he in the hospital?
He was actually let go last night, so he was in the hospital for, you know, a few hours. You know, they took X-rays, did scans, and yeah, he was let go last night.
What were his spirits like today?
Yeah, pretty good. You know, pretty good. And maybe he was putting on a good face for the rest of the group because he felt that that's what the group needed. But he appeared to be in good spirits.
Are you surprised the number of goals we have?
Yeah, you know, I think momentum's a really interesting thing, and I think, you know, on a big stage like this, it can go one way or another pretty quick. You know, so we were able to, you know, the first game we were the opposite side of that, where the momentum was all Quebec, and we had a real difficult time, you know, sort of, you know, centering ourselves and getting back to the game plan. And I think that, you know, we had a really good start last night. You know, I think the crowd was behind us. You know, you look early on, we had the disallowed goal, but I think the players were really focused. You know, there was a lot of contact in the offensive zone. I think that, you know, the fans were loving that, and then, you know, we were able to get the puck in the net, and, you know, I think when you're on the other side of that, it's hard to stop it. So I think momentum's really important in this tournament, and I think that's the reason why there's been a lot of goals. You know, teams grab a hold of the momentum, and the other team, you know, emotionally gets in a bad place.
You mentioned that Kyle's out for the rest of the tournament, but what kind of a presence is he going to be in the locker room just to help the team, you know, spirit-wise?
Yeah, I think it was great to see him. I think, you know, we've had guys out of the lineup. You know, Minton missed the first round of the playoffs. You know, it was good to have him around and be part of the group. He's, you know, Kyle's part of our leadership group, so when we meet and chat, he'll be a part of that. He'll be there to cheer his teammates on for sure.